So, the film starts with a girl who's running through her house in fear, trying to escape from something and searching for a place to hide. Then, the scene shifts and now we're introduced to Benny. Benny looks deeply disturbed, as if he's in shock from something big. By morning, his emotional state becomes clear to us too. He tells his friend he's tired of everything and just needs a break. He plans to ride his bicycle to Crow Valley, hoping to spend some time alone, far away from the noise of the world. His friend supports the idea. After a while, we see Benny leaving his car packed with a few essentials. A little while later, he parks outside a general store, unloads his bicycle from the car, and heads inside to buy a few things. Inside the store, we see her again. Yes, the same girl from the opening scene, the one who was running in fear. She's staring at Benny now, with a strange, unreadable expression. When Benny comes back out and takes out his bicycle, she follows, still watching him intently. Without a word, Benny rides off to begin his journey. He's racing down the road toward Crow Valley. Along the way, he stops by a waterfall to rest and drink some water. After a short break, he continues again, but suddenly he's forced to stop. One of his bicycle tires has burst. As he's checking it, a car comes speeding from behind and hits him. It's the same car we saw outside the general store. And the girl who steps out is the very same girl who's been watching him. She's startled to see Benny unconscious. She quickly leans down, listening for a heartbeat. When she confirms he's alive, she wastes no time. She lifts him into her car and drives off. Far from town, she comes across a lonely cabin. Sitting deep in a deserted area, she knocks again and again, but there's no answer. Peeking through the windows, she checks every angle. When she's sure no one's inside, she breaks the window and climbs in. Dust covers everything. It's clear this place hasn't been lived in for a long time and may never be again. Later, Benny regains consciousness inside the cabin. His head and arm are badly injured. The pain is unbearable. He can't even stand. Worse, he has no memory of what happened to him or how he got here. Just then, the girl enters the room. The same girl who hit him. After a brief conversation, she realizes Benny remembers nothing about the accident. So, she hides the truth when Benny asks, "How did I end up here?" She lies. "I found you unconscious on the road," she says, "and brought you here, to my uncle's cabin." Benny, still groaning in pain, says, "You should have called an ambulance. Look at my arm, it's seriously hurt." But she refuses. "We're deep in Crow Valley," she says. "There's no service out here. No signal. No help." Benny winces, asking her to assist him. She's not a doctor, but follows his instructions the best she can. She carefully pulls his arm, wraps the fracture, then starts dressing his wounds. As she walks into the kitchen, she's clearly shaken, and in the silence, a mysterious voice seems to echo inside her mind. And suddenly, the whole scene shifts into a flashback. We see the girl arguing with her mother. Frustrated and emotionally drained, she walks over to the window, and there, she sees something terrifying, a dark, eerie entity standing on the other side of the glass dot. The sight of it fills her with even more fear. Then the scene cuts back to the present. The girl is now in the kitchen, cooking. While she's busy, Benny comes in, and for the first time, he asks her name. She answers softly, "My name is Greta." Benny feels a bit awkward, guilty even, because Greta has done so much for him. But Greta brushes it off, saying, "It's fine. I chose to do this." She even serves him food with a calm, caring smile after the meal. Then he tells Greta, "I really need to go to the hospital." But Greta replies, "The hospital is too far from here, and I don't have a car. I had to ask someone for help just to bring you here." As they're talking, Greta suddenly drifts into her memories again. Flashbacks begin. We learn that Greta lives with constant fear. She suffers from depression, but she doesn't take her medication. She always feels like someone or something is following her, a ghostly presence haunting her. These voices, this entity, they're always whispering in her mind, even tonight. While she was using the phone, another flashback hits. Her mother appears in her mind, scolding her angrily because she saw Greta had dropped all her pills. But Greta lies to her, saying, "I am taking my meds every day." The scene returns to the present. Greta is still haunted by the same voices, now louder than ever, more aggressive, more controlling. We, the audience, can hear them now too. The voices are urging her, commanding her to kill Benny, driven by fear and confusion. She picks up a knife from the kitchen and starts walking toward Benny's room. She's about to do something terrible, but just in time. She snaps back to reality. She stops. Shaken, trembling, Greta quickly turns and rushes back to her own room. But the voices don't stop. They grow louder, angrier. Because she disobeyed, Greta can't take it anymore. She hides her face in a pillow, screams, trying to shut them out. But the voices won't leave her alone. The next morning, Benny heads out, trying to find help on his own. He's hoping he might find a clinic nearby, or at least a passing car to give him a ride. He walks a long distance, exhausted, still. No help, no clinic, no vehicle. Finally, out of breath, he stops under a tree to rest. That's when he spots something. A car, parked deep in the forest. He rushes toward it, and yes, it really is a car. Excited, he runs back to tell Greta. She comes out and sees the car too. But what Benny doesn't know is that it's Greta's car. Still, she pretends. Pretends she's never seen it before. Pretends like it's just a strange coincidence. She pretended she was seeing this car for the first time. But now, Benny had begun to suspect something from Greta's nervous reactions. He could sense she was lying. That car belonged to her. At the same time, Greta could feel that Benny was starting to doubt her. So she rushed back to the house in a panic. Meanwhile, Benny began searching the house, looking for proof. He needed to clear his doubts. And there it was. He found the car keys hidden in the drawer of Greta's room. At that moment, Greta was Still in the forest, trying to calm the haunting voices in her mind. But then she saw Benny heading toward the car again. She couldn't understand. Why was he going back there? Alarmed, she ran home, and when she entered her room, it was a complete mess. The spot where she had kept the keys was now empty. She realized the car keys were gone. Her rage boiled over. The voices in her head grew louder, darker, urging her to do something terrible. She opened the cupboard, pulled out a baseball bat, and started following Benny. She reached him just in time. Benny was about to start the car and escape. But before he could drive off, Greta yelled at him, "Step away from the car." Benny didn't take her threat seriously. He began saying something to calm her down. But suddenly, Greta swung the baseball bat and struck him hard on the head. Benny collapsed, unconscious. Now Greta dragged him back into the house. She spread a sheet across the kitchen floor, sat him on a chair, and tied him tightly with tape. When Benny regained consciousness, he was stunned. He couldn't believe that someone so young could do this to him. He looked at Greta and said, "Why are you doing this? What did I ever do to you? Please, let me go. If it's money you want, I'll give you anything." But Greta was lost, completely overwhelmed by the voices inside her head. She didn't hear a word. She picked up a hammer and threatened him. "Tell me your real name, or I'll break your hand." Terrified, he finally confessed, "My name is David." The moment he said it, the voices inside Greta's mind roared. That name, David. The echoes became unbearable. Those voices had completely taken over her. Consumed by rage and pain, Greta struck his hand with the hammer. David screamed in agony, and just like that, the voices stopped. The deafening silence brought Greta back to her senses. She looked around, realizing what she had just done. Tears welled up in her eyes. Moments later, Greta walked over to David and showed him a picture. In it was Greta with her sister Dot, and suddenly David remembered. Greta was the sister of the girl he had accidentally killed 8 years ago. The horrifying truth struck him. He froze. David tried to defend himself. I didn't mean for it to happen. It wasn't my fault. Your sister ran into the road. I got out to help her, but she was already gone. Then Greta says, "Everything you're saying is a lie. When you saw her, she was still alive. She was calling out to you for help. And you didn't help her out of fear. You left her there to die, alone. Here, David tries to convince her. Please, believe me, he says. I checked her. She was already dying. Then Greta tells him, you were drunk that day. You don't remember anything. Suddenly, the same voices start echoing in Greta's mind again. The ones that were provoking her to kill David. Those voices were shouting, blaming David for every terrible thing in her life. And now, she was about to smash his head with a hammer. But just before she could do it, she hears the sound of a truck outside, moving toward the house. It was the owner of the house. When she goes out to meet him, the man asks her, "Who are you?" She replies with an innocent look, "I was just passing by. I had an accident, so I had to take shelter here, unwillingly. Now, to stop this man from going inside, she asks him, "Would you give me a lift? Just for a short distance." The man doesn't answer. But when he sees the blood on her clothes, he realizes something is definitely wrong. He pushes Greta aside and rushes into the house before he can reach the kitchen and see David. Greta picks up a baseball bat lying nearby, and with one hard swing, she knocks the old man unconscious. This time, the blood was pouring out. She had hit him very hard. Seeing all that blood, Greta suddenly comes to her senses. She realizes she's done something terribly wrong. She tries to stop the bleeding from his head. But now, it's too late. Greta had damaged his brain. He dies from the bleeding. Now, Greta is emotionally crushed. She leaves the man lying there and walks into a room. There, she breaks down in tears, staring at a picture of her sister. Meanwhile, David, who had been tied up in the kitchen for a long time, finally gets a chance to escape. Because Greta is not around, he sees a knife lying on the floor. He throws himself down to grab it and starts cutting the ropes on his hands. After a long struggle, as soon as one hand is free, he quickly empties his mouth, his other hand, and legs. He grabs the car keys from the counter and tries to make a run for it. He wanted to start the car immediately and drive away. But perhaps luck was not on his side. The engine wouldn't start. Meanwhile, Greta hears a noise. She rushes over and realizes David isn't there. She immediately runs toward the car because she knows David is trying to escape. When David also hears the sound of someone running in the forest, he quickly gets out of the car and hides. Greta was desperately searching for David to kill him. But David was now hiding under the trunk of a tree. Greta passed right by him, but didn't suspect a thing. In that moment of shock, David begins to remember everything he had done years ago. Once, while passing through Crow Valley in a drunken state, he had caused an accident. The victim was Greta's sister. She was riding a bicycle. He had stepped out to help her, but when he saw her unconscious on the ground, he realized her nerves were still responding. She was alive. But David, he didn't have the courage to help her, to avoid the police. He got back into his car and drove away. Even now, he was deeply ashamed of what had happened. He regretted it all. But right now, he didn't want to lose his own life because of it. When he realizes Greta has moved away, he quietly crawls out from under the tree. David remembers the house owner had arrived here in a truck. He plans to escape using that truck. As he reaches the house and starts searching for the keys, Greta suddenly appears in front of him, holding the truck keys, dangling from the tip of a knife. But David decides he'll fight back. He'll take those keys, no matter what. As he moves forward, Greta suddenly throws the keys aside and lunges at him with the knife. Both Greta and David fall to the ground. Greta is fully intent on killing him. David is trying desperately to defend himself. In the struggle, David manages to overpower Greta. He tries to take the knife from her hands, but she keeps forcing it. toward his stomach. And then, in a sudden twist, the knife slips and ends up stabbing Greta in the stomach. Greta falls back. She's dying. David quickly grabs the truck keys and runs toward the truck. He was just about to drive off and escape, but something stopped him. He realized Greta might still be alive, and this time he didn't want to make the same mistake again. He couldn't let another innocent person die. He rushes back into the house, checks her pulse. Greta was still breathing. He wraps her in a cloth and drags her out to the truck. David wanted to get her to a hospital fast. Halfway through the journey, Greta suddenly regains consciousness. She pulls the knife out of her stomach, and blood starts gushing out. David immediately stops the truck and tries to stop the bleeding. But it was too late. Greta bleeds out. She dies. At the end of the story, it's revealed Greta failed to take revenge for her sister. The voices that echoed in her ears, the entity she kept seeing, it was her sister's ghost, and that ghost had been forcing her to kill David. As Greta dies, that ghost finally appears before David, who is left completely shattered. And with that, the movie comes to an end.